Hello and welcome to Business on the Wire. Earlier last week, Cyclone Amphan raged across parts of West Bengal and Orissa and left in its wake devastating destruction. While there has been loss of lives, there has been intense loss of property. Farms have been destroyed, and West Bengal is facing what could probably be the biggest natural disaster it's seen in many decades. Where from here, and what must the state now do to deal with the dual dangers, on the one hand of the aftermath of the cyclone, and on the other of the COVID pandemic that has indeed struck most nations and states worldwide, but the numbers are spiking as we speak. Joining me to talk about all of that is Mahua Moitra. She's in her constituency right now of Krishnanagar in West Bengal. Thank you, Mahua, for joining in and speaking with us. It has been an incredibly difficult couple of weeks for West Bengal. Give us a sense of the damage right now and where relief efforts are at.
Obviously, this has been, the worst we've had earlier, which was a very bad storm. But this has really been in all of our memory, the worst cyclone that has hit West Bengal. Even though we had enough warning, still the scale of devastation has been unimaginable. Two districts, South 24 Parganas and North 24 Parganas, have borne the maximum brunt of the storm. And another two, Calcutta and East Medinipur, have also been bad. While the storm was going towards Bangladesh, it passed over Nadia and Murshidabad. Thankfully, the loss of life in Nadia and Murshidabad was not too much, 7 or 8 people, but crop damage has been enormous in these areas. Paddy, banana, jute, all of that has been very hard hit. But as of now, the relief efforts are concentrated mostly in South and North 24 Parganas, where there have been large chunks of land just wiped away. People are still without power and electricity in many areas simply because of the scale of devastation. Everything's gone. Mobile connectivity is limited because towers have got destroyed. The army is out. The NDRF is out. Every single unit of the state government is on the ground. People obviously are in great distress. We're doing everything. So yes, it's a very tough time.
How long will the immediate relief efforts take, you think, Mahua, just to get basic things back up and running? As you mentioned, power supply. I think in some areas, water supply has also been.
Yeah. You see, so power and water are obviously connected. And in most areas around Calcutta now, I think about 70 to 80% of areas are back with power. I'm obviously in Nadia in my own district, so I'm not in Calcutta. But for example, in our area, we've managed, apart from 2 or 3 small packets, we have managed to get power back everywhere. But obviously, the devastation was not so bad here. In South 24 and Calcutta, I think they've managed to restore power to Calcutta proper to about 70 to 80% of localities. They will finish the others by the next 2 days. The problem, you see, there has been very large number of very large trees that have fallen. So to restore power means clearing up, and to clear one huge tree, it's not easy. I know people are losing patience, but these are all connected. So, and in South 24, I think to actually physically reach a lot of the areas is still proving very difficult. So relief efforts are on. We're hopefully, obviously to normalize this will take months, if not years, but immediate relief, power, water backup, at least another week or 10 days in sort of most areas.
At this point, Mahua, is the army only concentrated within Kolkata? Have they been able to spread out to the north and south 24 Parganas, the areas hit hardest?
I am not too sure of that because I am, like I said, in my own district, Nadia, so I haven't really spoken to anyone there. But I do think they've called the army out, definitely in Calcutta, but I think they've also called the army and the NDRF where they need them most in other areas also. Again, I'm not sure. You'll have to check that out.
What are the estimates that you have at this point in terms of loss of life or, severe injuries because of the cyclone itself?
Yes. See, so for example, the loss of life has been around between 80 and 90 people. Now, loss of life, obviously you have this immediately after a storm like this, you also have another 10, 12, 15 deaths, which will happen in the next 2 days. So the official estimate was 80. I think that has now been revised to a little more than 90. But for example, in my area, we had 7 people on the bottom half of the district, 1 on the top, so 8. But then the day after the storm, what's happened is somebody was going to fix an electric line and he died of an electric shock. So technically, that's also connected to the storm. So I would say that the loss of life has been, because with early advance warning systems, unlike unlike sort of 10 or 15 years ago, where there would be huge loss of life, now with advanced warning systems, we managed to get a lot of people in shelters already. So the loss of life, I think, has been around 100 for all of Bengal, and almost nothing in Orissa. So that's the good news. The bad news is that the damage to households and to houses, to kuchha and pucca houses in the two districts has been absolutely devastating. So in Nadia, it's been 60,000 houses, but elsewhere it's been literally lakhs, 7 lakhs, 10 lakhs are the numbers in the two districts. By this, I mean that complete dwellings gone. I'm not even talking partial loss, I'm talking complete loss of the home completely gone.
That was the question I was coming to, Mahua, because this is the more immediate impact, which is power and water. But what exactly has been the damage to physical infrastructure? You mentioned houses, but is there a lot else?
Enormous. In South 24 Parganas, I believe, I haven't gone there myself, but from whatever I'm getting is that it's unrecognizable. The entire Sundarban Delta is unrecognizable. All the blocks there have been very hard hit. I mean, there's scarcely any roads or bridges or anything known as physical infrastructure has been damaged. There is nothing which has not been damaged. Now, the extent of damage, some have been totally washed away, some have been partially washed away. So that's what we're looking at. But there hasn't been a single home that has escaped unscathed. Nothing.
I know you've had a series of meetings and all party meetings as well to sort of resolve the way around this crisis. Mahua, is there a sense of how long the entire reconstruction process is going to take for the cyclone itself?
We are still reconstructing parts from Alia. The damage from Alia, Sundarban was still, some areas were still, I remember I went last year and some places you went, they would tell you, it was still Aila damage which people were talking about. So obviously these things take 5 or 10 years sometimes to rebuild. So I think the scale of this damage, we're looking at 3 to 5 years to see full-fledged relief and full-fledged to back it was to where it was.
It's been
absolutely devastating. I mean, nature's fury is unimaginable. Even Calcutta was unrecognizable. Out of every 5 large trees, 3 have been felled. And these are really old 80 to 100-year-old trees, which we're not going to see back again. So I think in the coming months and years, the pollution levels in Calcutta are definitely going to go up hugely because the green cover has been so badly affected.
What is the sense amongst people, Mahua? Because this comes at such a bad time where there is such a great sense of fear and anxiety around a pandemic in any case.
We're all talking about that. It's almost like the gods are out to get mankind. I mean, honestly, one thing after the other. And in times like this, because social distancing, all of the rules that we've been trying to adhere to and trying to get going, when something like this happens, and obviously in that emergency situation, it's very difficult when you're trying to cram people and they're trying to run for their lives. Then they're crammed together in a shelter. No one's thinking of social distancing. When people are not getting to eat and you're running a community kitchen, everyone just wants to run and get something to eat. So obviously this has compounded everything, whether it's relief efforts, whether it's everything. So, and migrants had just started coming back. Now we've stopped the trains till the 26th. We've stopped air travel, I think, till the 28th. Because we physically cannot handle both. You can't handle relief efforts and the migrant screening and going back. So yes, this has really been double complication for us.
As also numbers rise. I mean, yesterday was the largest spike for Kolkata in terms of COVID cases for West Bengal. I beg your pardon.
Yeah. 7,000 all over India and 200. I mean, we are obviously following the same trend as the rest of India. India is really peaking now. So it's actually ironic when at 500 cases, I think India was locked down without any notice on 24th of March. And when we are peaking at a lakh 20s, when we are opening up and saying going home. So, I mean, it's been very difficult for the state governments to deal with this.
Have you been able to communicate the sense of the urgency, especially for the situation in West Bengal? And what specific, sort of support does West Bengal need at this point, Mahua, both to deal with COVID, which is rising, and the cyclone impact?
Look, no one wants to play politics during this time, but it's out there for everyone to see. It's not just us. It's every single state government has been left to fend for themselves during the COVID crisis. We have received, what are state government revenues? All the revenue models have dried up now because we're living in a zero revenue situation right now. Shops are closed, things are closed. You have no tax revenue, number one. The second thing that has been that we've had to spend so much money fighting the pandemic and we've received absolutely nothing. Now, can we borrow? States, unlike the center, have to adhere to the FRBM Act. And the FRBM has a 3% limit. They've only increased that to 3.5%. We had asked for a 5% increase. The other 150 basis point is tied to such strict conditionality, nobody can make use of it. So we've actually got no money. We are having to run quarantine centers. When people are coming back, we're having to feed them. We're going to have to keep them for 14 days. It's the testing, it's the transportation, it's receiving people at the station. So at block level, every single BDO is having to spend something like 10 lakhs a week, which is insane. And this money is not coming from anywhere. We've had the crop damage day before 4 days ago, and all the farmers in our area are asking that, but what is the damage? When are you announcing compensation? And we are trying to assess the damage right now, but we can't announce any compensation simply because we haven't any money. And for funny, the center had released 3,500 crores, and this has been as devastating for Bengal, and we've received 1,000 crores, which they say is the first tranche which has come. But we hope that definitely more money is required, and more money should come quickly, because it has to trickle down to the block level of the administration for relief to reach people, because for 2.5 months we've really been completely cash trapped. Migrants have been cash trapped. It's not enough in this situation to just say that we're going to give you cheap loans. That's not enough. We need cash in hand, both state governments and migrants. And I think that's where has been the big gaping hole in this entire sort of COVID crisis.
And even as early estimates, Mahua, is there a sense of what the cost of rebuilding from the cyclone might be for the state government?
I mean, 50,000 crores. I think they're very high. The damage is to that tune. Obviously, when you rebuild, you never get that kind of a number. But I think assessing a damage, I don't want to put a number out there. I'm just quoting whatever I've read in the media. I don't know. But for example, in my particular, just in my Lok Sabha, there has been 70,000 hectares, just one subdivision which has been affected, and 60,000 houses. And we're looking at obviously 100 and something crores worth of damage to just one area, which has not even been badly hit. That's a large number.
There was a sense of disappointment, I think, on people who have been associated with West Bengal in any way, Mahua, about the lack of attention, the lack of reportage, the lack of any kind of communication, or even highlighting the plight of the people. For anyone who's watching, is there something you'd like to say about, where?
Yeah, I mean, what do I say? I'm speaking to you as a part of the media. So, I mean, this is something that you need to make your colleagues aware of. I think we're too busy right now to go around saying, look at us, look at us, look at us, frankly. But it's like I said, it's absolutely amazing. There is a saying in one of Talib's couplets says, "वो हम हाँ भी भरते तो हो जाते बदनाम, वो कत्ल भी करते तो चर्चा नहीं होता." So it's the same thing, that whenever anything happens to, when whatever we say, it's never thing. There's always, we've been attacked. The governor's gone after us. Everything, one after the other, the center's gone. And even in a time of crisis like this, we got all the negative publicity for apparently mishandling the COVID crisis. And now when something like this happens and the state really needs people, there's really nothing out there. But I think this is something that journalists need to look within themselves. It's not something we can't tell people to have a conscience. I mean, it's their conscience they need to deal with it. But it's very unfortunate.
Yeah. I know you are incredibly busy, Mahua. I really appreciate your time. Hang in there. You are in our thoughts and prayers. Everyone in West Bengal. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for doing the program, and at least making sure a few people think of us now. Thank you. Thanks again.
To receive instant updates on all videos from The Wire, click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon. Pay to support independent journalism. Click the link in the description and choose the amount you want to pay.